Wow, this is nuts. We've seen a lot of instances this year. We've became aware more than ever about our government's meddling essentially in private citizens' First Amendment rights. We see this now with the Twitter files, like direct violations of our First Amendment rights to free speech. We've also been made a lot more aware of just the insane sheer number of people who either are currently working for or retired from, in air quotes, these three-letter agencies who are working for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Every major big tech company in Silicon Valley seems to have more than a few, people from like Homeland Security and all this stuff working for these tech companies. We see that there is a direct relationship, a direct sharing of information. And there are some scenarios, okay, there are some scenarios where maybe that makes sense, right? Somebody makes some sort of claim or threat and needs to get passed on. But we see now that that's not how it's being used. And now newly unearthed emails have revealed that the ADL, a bully organization much like Media Matters, has urged a counter-terror unit in Washington, D.C. to investigate Matt Walsh, Christopher Rufo, as well as Libs of TikTok. For what? I'm not. I mean, this is insane. You see Elon Musk getting in there. I think he always does this exclamation point thing to boost things in the algorithm. That's what I think anyway. I mean, Libs of TikTok, the ADL is so lost from their original mission, so nothing should surprise me, but this did. It's just unbelievable. Christopher Rufo, this is fine. Saying men can't get pregnant as literal Terrys. I mean, that's what this is. I mean, this is insane. So here's the article from the Daily Signal. First on the Daily Signal, the ADL flags online amplifiers of, quote, LGBTQ plus hate as extreme people to be examined by law enforcement in an email obtained by the Oversight Project. Now, what's going to get really interesting, really spicy, is in these lawsuits. We have, I think it's Media Matters, Elon Musk starts suing these people, Discovery. The ADL needs to be sued by Matt Walsh. The Daily Wire and Matt Walsh, they have the money. They should sue them. We need to get to Discovery. We need to see, I don't need to. They don't need my money. But I would 100% support them in this lawsuit. I was going to say I would even donate to a crowdfunder, but come on, Daily Wire is like $1 billion company at this point. The revelation indicates that the ADL, quote, the leading anti-hate organization in the world, as defined by them, is specifically pushing law enforcement to scrutinize viral dissenters against trans ideology, such as the Daily Wire's Matt Walsh and the Manhattan Institute's Chris Rufo. The email was obtained by the Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project. The Daily Signal is Heritage's news outlet. The ADL has historically focused on anti-Semitism, but in recent years has directed heavy attention towards hate and extreme views. Well, because I guess they weren't making enough money. I don't know. The ADL has described content pushing back against trans ideology as both dangerous and false, claiming that this attempt inspires real-world extreme activities. You mean like the trans people that went into those schools, like the last 5 in a row? Is that why? Is that the people you're talking about? And even, real-world bad activities. The ADL and similar organizations are a key driver of government weaponization. Mike Howell, the director of the Oversight Project, a division of the Heritage Foundation, told the Daily Signal, they provide the phony predication and intellectual cover in order to point the people with weapons at their enemies. Our investigative work continues to expose examples of these groups driving government action. Now, Oversight's Freedom of Information Act request to the Washington State Fusion Center turned out a February 2023 email on the extremist landscape from the ADL. The email was sent to Tyler Phelan, an intelligence analyst at the center, from the ADL's, quote, law enforcement address. The email bears the subject line, white supremacist fight clubs, and anti-LGBTQ hate. And it paints a picture of this extremist landscape. Threats of, Islamic bad behavior. I'm surprised they would say that. Also, the section on LGBTQ hate describes content pushed by online actors, including the vilification of drag shows and baseless claims of grooming by LGBTQ people. The ADL alleges that this content has further endangered and isolated an already at-risk community, noting that these accusations and stances have been adopted by right-wing media personalities and disseminated on mainstream platforms. The email bears remarkable similarities in both wording and structure to the ADL's blog post on online amplifiers of anti-LGBTQ plus opinions, a blog post that specifically names viral Libs of TikTok social media account run by Chaya Rychik, a Jewish person, Gays Against Rumors social media account run by Jamie Mitchell, who I think is also gay, the media company Blaze Media, Rufo, and Matt Walsh. According to that blog post, the ADL is interested in the government targeting these types of individuals due to their influence online related to trans ideology. Quote, ADL is advocating for government partners to strengthen laws against perpetrators of online hate, meaning, infringing on our First Amendment rights. That's what the ADL is actually asking for. As well as consulting with law enforcement partners to act on online hate speech. Again, hate speech is not a real thing. That incites bad behavior and or credible threats, which it doesn't. The ADL will continue to develop community partnerships with the LGBTQ plus leaders and organizations such as GLAAD in efforts to counter hate speech with positive speech. Hey, you can have all the positive speech you want. You can also have all the hate speech you want. Guess what? They're both speech. The article represents a collaboration between pro-LGBT group GLAAD and the ADL intended to counter anti-LGBTQ words. The collaboration explicitly aims to alert law enforcement and community organizations to threats. Quote, you can draw a direct line from the anti-LGBTQ content and accounts on social media to real-world bad actions. No, you can't. If you could, then you'd be suing these people. If you could, these people would be in jail. It's just a lie. It's the same. Playing Call of Duty makes you go do terrible things in real life. That's the argument they're making. From extreme people showing up at drag shows to vandalism at LGBTQ community centers, again, you cannot actually draw any kind of line. There's no line drawn between things Matt Walsh tweeted and bad behavior that happens in real life. Now, people do stupid things in real life. They do. All right? But that's their own decision, their own actions. It's not because somebody tweeted a meme. It appears the ADL email to Washington State Fusion Center employee links to a blog post. The email includes links that the Daily Signal could not confirm specifically on the phrase of, quote, online actors and the phrase baseless claims, referring to supposedly baseless claims of grooming and vilification of drag shows. The ADL did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Now, of course, Chris Loftus, Director of Communications for Washington State Patrol, a key partner in the Washington State Fusion Center, denied that they are currently investigating Matt Walsh, Rufo, Chaya Rychik, Libs of TikTok, or Gays Against Groomers. He also said that Washington State law enforcement agencies that they might review information from organizations like the ADL. They would recognize that they like any organization or individual would be organized and energized around core beliefs and mission thrusts that could impact their perspective. Quote, we do not investigate anyone or anything at the direction of the ADL, Loftus said, referencing the Daily Signal's press inquiry. We receive tips from a variety of sources and interested parties that we follow to its logical conclusion. I doubt it. I'm guessing emails from the ADL, probably get put in a different pile than emails from some Karen who's worried about a lemonade stand. Now, the ADL blog post and online amplifiers of hate, that's what it's called, accuses both Chaya Rychik and various organizations against false allegations and repeatedly accuses Rychik, Jamie Mitchell, the Blaze, Rufo of vilifying drag shows. It also describes Walsh as one of the biggest purveyors of erroneous and harmful narratives. What, like gender-affirming care? Surrounding, trending order. It's literally the next line. surrounding gender affirming care. It's not gender affirming care. Walsh has particularly drawn the attention of gender ideologists through this What is a Woman documentary and his exposés of hospitals and medical professionals across the United States who perform experimental transmedical interventions on kids and young people. Walsh regards ADL's tactics as a very serious threat, he told the Daily Signal. I'm not surprised that the enemies of free speech and common sense are using this tactic, but I do find it deeply concerning. Democrats, and the ADL is just an activist arm of the Democratic Party, of course, clearly want to use force to shut down speech that threatens their narrative. Walsh said, we've been moving in that direction for some time. I expect that if Biden wins re-election, we will start to see in the next year or two outspoken conservatives getting fined and arrested on the grounds of hate speech. And I agree with him on that. We're inching closer and closer to what we see as a reality in places like the UK and Canada. Previously known for his fear-mongering around critical race theory, this is a quote, Rufo has now turned his focus to alleged dangers of gender ideology, a baseless decades-old conspiracy theory, alleging that progressive movement seeks to destroy traditional families. Well, it does. Rufo weighed in. Quote, the ADL is attempting to mobilize the government for the purpose of political prosecution, putting our right to free speech at risk, he told the Daily Signal. The fact that the ADL would like the government to investigate critics of trans ideology under a terror banner provisions is outrageous. I will not back down to this intimidation campaign. Rather, I will fight harder than ever, he said. If they come knocking, I will tell them to pound sand. This is still America. We still have the right to free speech. I mean, yikes. We know that the ADL has worked many times, and you can read the rest of the article over at thedailysignal.com. They do a great job breaking down the rest of it, but we're just like on the razor's edge of having hate speech laws in this country. There are powerful forces, powerful activist organizations, actual sitting people in the government that want this to be a reality in this country. They want to destroy our First Amendment. We have to fight back against it. I hope that all these people get together and sue the ADL for this. I certainly would love to see what comes out at Discovery. I hope you were informed by this video. If you were, please do leave a like on it. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe down below. We'll talk to you again real soon.